Hey everybody, trying to go live here. I hope I have a good connection in the office here. I'm here to talk about how to survive homeschooling through the coronavirus. And I heard from a lot of you the last 24 hours since my live yesterday. So I wanted to give a little bit of an update to how everybody's doing, what I'm hearing on, hi Andrea, what I'm hearing on Facebook, and I've heard from some of you on how things are going, and there's like a huge spectrum. Some of you are really struggling, having a hard time. We talked yesterday about establishing a routine, which I think is crucial, and just as I suspected, a lot of you are having, getting pushback from your kids on the routine. Totally expected. So keep that up, keep it going. You're gonna have pushback from your kids. We're all really uncomfortable right now. This is a very new place for all of us to be, and it feels yucky. It feels hard, and so establishing that routine is a huge thing right now, and kind of getting into the rhythm, getting into the flow. I remember bringing home my kids, and there was a lot of pushback from the kids at first until we worked it out. So hang in there. It's going to feel better as time passes and as things settle down a little bit. Some of you were excited by this new opportunity. I was so excited to talk to some friends who said they sat with their families last night, sat with their kids, and kind of asked them what they want to do with this extra time. Of course, making time to do all the e-learning stuff and schoolwork, but also with that additional time, what they really wanted to do. And I thought that was so awesome that you did that. And some of your kids want to learn to bake bread and play the guitar, and that's so great. So congratulations for doing that. I'm just going to tell you, though, it's going to be hard. Even if today was a good day, yesterday was a good day, it's going to be hard as we all kind of adjust to this new normal. Hang in there. We can do it together. I know you can do it. I remember having a lot of doubts, and it's come together, and we're doing okay. So we're doing great, actually, and I know you can too. So I have a few things today that I have for you to leave with you. One is how to stay sane as a parent. Number one, a tip for that. Number two, a tip for your kids specifically, how to help them as they're kind of getting used to this new normal. And then I have a few questions I'm going to answer. And if you have anything else that you want to if you want to ask a question, leave it in the comments and I'll maybe get to it or do it on another time. All right, so number one thing is how as parents we can stay sane. We have to get up early. I know it's not my favorite thing. I love to sleep in, but we all know how it is. When we sleep in the morning, we get up after our kids and the kitchen's a disaster. There is cereal and milk all over the countertop. The screens are on. The kids are running around. It's just like you wake up and chaos is just complete chaos. So my number one tip for you is to try to get up early while the house is still quiet. Try to find time before the noise to ground yourself. With that, I'm also going to say, don't invite in noise when your house is quiet. By that, I mean, if you're one that gets on social media first thing in the morning, you might want to consider breaking that habit because you're inviting all of that noise into your life. And when you're preparing for a busy homeschool day, you need to be centered and kind of, I would say, grounded. So to invite in the noise of social media, people's opinions, people's panic, and everything, that's not going to help you to feel grounded and in a place of peace. So number one is maintain that quiet. If you're the one that turns on the news in the morning, I would recommend not doing that for a while. Maintain your peace and quiet. For me, starting with a spiritual practice is something I've done for a long time, and it's so helpful for me. So praying, reading scripture. If I'm really having a great day, I might also add in a spiritual talk to listen to, something that really just gives me perspective and helps me prioritize my day. For some of you, yoga, meditation is great. It's going to help you get grounded and be better able to be patient with your kids and help them through their day as well. So number one tip for you and your sanity as a parent is get up before things get noisy. Don't invite any noise into your life until you've had a chance to ground yourself with some peace, with some quiet. For me, that's very much of a spiritual practice. So it's the first thing I wanted to share with you. The second thing is for your kids. Oftentimes we look at life through our own kind of selfish perspective, and we're only thinking about how hard this is on us now. As a parent, we have to fit this in with everything else we're doing. This is so hard. We've never done this before. But when you look at it also from your child's perspective, this is really hard for them as well. They're away from their friends. They're away from their routines, and they're not quite sure how they're feeling about things. So keep that in perspective, and especially as they're kind of establishing these new patterns and routines and their schoolwork. I know that as I've been sitting with a child, maybe we're working on math or something, and I feel their emotion get hot, and they're overwhelmed, they're frustrated with what they're learning. It never, ever helps for my emotions to also escalate. If I get impatient with them, you need to focus, why aren't you figuring this out? I don't see. I just explained it. When you do that, has that ever helped in the history of parenting? Never, ever helped. So my tip to you with homeschooling parents is homeschooling your children is give breaks and give them often. I will just say to my child in the middle of math, do you think it's a good time that we take a 15-minute break? And we can come back to this later. So one of two things will happen. A, they need the break, or I need the break, and they take that break and come back. It's usually a fresh start, a chance to try again. Or if they really do feel like they have something else to give, they'll shape up knowing that, I don't want to come back later. I'm going to really try to refocus here. But giving them a little bit more of that, the responsibility on making the decision. Do you want to have a break right now, or do you want to try again? And I found that to be really, really successful. If they do want to take a break, to go outside is really good. But maybe your child would rather read a book or play with Legos or do something else to just kind of shift and give their mind a break and come back. So just realizing that when your child is frustrated, they don't want to be frustrated. They wish it was easy and they wish they could understand quickly, but they can't for whatever reason, and it's not their fault. Even if they're just having a hard time focusing, that's really not their fault either. They would try harder if they could. So understanding that sometimes it's just better to have a break for everybody. So take breaks as often as you like. When we talked yesterday about creating that schedule, that's a really good framework, and it's really good to have something to go on, but you have to realize when it's going to benefit everybody to break from the schedule. I recommend being as rigid as you can at first as you're trying to let everybody establish kind of the expectation, and so that you can get a better handle on the flow of things. But if you just can't hack it, you need to take a break. You need to make adjustments to the schedule, and that's fine. Come right back to it. But taking breaks is good. All right, a couple of questions I had. One was really great. It was from a mom who has a son who has some special needs, and so she is used to homeschooling him and giving him her one-on-one attention, and now she has a younger child coming home that also needs to homeschool. So she asked about, that's a whole new normal there as well, even though you're used to homeschooling. So I want to provide some advice for her there, but this is also going to be helpful for those of you who are homeschooling multiple children. It all comes back to the schedule again. Having a plan, knowing what your child hopes to accomplish, what you and your child hope to accomplish that day, and creating some kind of loose outline. And then if you're working with a second child, you have to put those two schedules together so that when you know you need to focus on your one child who needs your undivided attention, you schedule time for your other child to do something they can do independently. Whether that's take a break, play, maybe they're really good at reading, but you need to be able to talk to them, and they need to understand that, mom really needs to focus right now with this child. It's your opportunity to be responsible for yourself. So planning is everything there so that you can have that undivided attention where it's needed. Another one of my favorite things is planning things that you can do together as a family. Hey, Tina. So one of our favorite times of the day, and it's usually right in the morning as we're easing into school. Sometimes kids aren't excited to jump right into school. So for us, I like to do something that kind of eases us in. And for us, that's a morning kind of family read aloud. And it's just my two youngest boys that participate in this, but that's a middle schooler and a high schooler. And don't tell them, but they still like to be read too. Don't tell them I know. So that is a great activity that's enriching to everybody. And it's something that could be done all together. So our family read aloud right now, family read aloud, we're doing Life of Pi. I pulled out a few books. Life of Pi, and I'll say to this book, it's pretty heavy, especially the beginning before Pi gets on the boat with the tiger and the hyena and everything. It's a lot of philosophy. So we just take it slow. We talk about things, but some might say that's way over their heads, which it probably is in some cases. But what I have found through my homeschooling experience is we don't really push our kids to the level they could be learning. We tend to just go with what we know we'll understand. But I find that if you introduce things that are a little bit more advanced, a little bit more, I don't want to say mature because that's not what I mean, but a little bit more challenging, that they rise to the occasion. And my youngest son, he's had a very hard time learning to read. And so one might assume like, oh, this is much too difficult for him, but he also has the best listening skills in the family. So challenging him in that way and giving him something really, wonderful to listen to comprehend. And it's really great. It's a great thing to do together as a family. So I have another tip here. Oh, I was going to share a few more books, a few more favorite family read alouds, or at least I've read with one. Mr. Popper's Penguin, My Side of the Mountain. That's a cool one for boys and girls. And one of my son's favorite was The Giver. And Julie, did you give me this book? Anyway, great books there. So this is my rule about when we're working together as a family and there's multiple children involved, and maybe you're teaching to the older child. Maybe you know that what you're studying, what you're reading together is better suited for an older child and a younger child may be less engaged. Here's how we do that. For me, it's fine. I never force learning or participation. For my younger child to have a toy with them, to be kind of half listening, half in and out, totally fine. Don't force it, but there is one rule. And it is they cannot distract. They cannot distract others. I used it even this morning. I was studying some grammar with my two older kids, and one was kind of rolling and touching, and I said, not allowed, you're distracting your brother. And it was, oh yeah, okay. So if they don't want to engage at that moment, hey, that's fine. If they would rather play with something manipulative in their hands or be thinking about something else, that's fine. We can't force them to learn, but we can ask them not to be disruptive to others. So that's one of my favorite kind of mom phrases is, nope, you can't distract others. So distracting others, that's something I wanted to remind you of, that you can ask your kids not to distract others. So I'm following up on a few things here. So if you're teaching multiple kids, try to schedule so that they're busy at the right times and you have time to focus more one-on-one. Also do activities where you can incorporate multiple children at once. My favorite being the family read aloud. Push them, have them be listening to material that's more challenging than you might think. They might just love it and fall in love with literature and the classics. And that is something I learned from my mentor, Lauren Cummings. She taught me that, and I thought, there's no way my kids would ever be interested, and they are. And they have really grown through that kind of that little push to do more, be more challenged than you think they might be. Okay, I had a friend ask me she was telling me about her new homeschooling journey and with little ones, and she surprisingly thought that she was going to get pushback from her older daughter, but she turned out to be really excited, which kind of was a surprise to the mom. And I think that we're seeing that quite a bit. I talked to another friend who said, my kids were actually, at least some of them, were excited about this and willing to sit down and set goals. They were excited that I asked them what they wanted to learn. So that's really exciting for me, because that's like a lifelong pattern. It's not just let's do it for a few weeks while we try this out, but that can be a really great bonding thing, something that you can help them with throughout their entire childhood and adolescence, is helping them kind of uncover things they're passionate about and things they want to learn. So back to this mom. I didn't have time to kind of research some resources for her. And I might try to do that if I have time, but I do have a few kind of general tips and one specific resource. So for one, family read aloud, already talked about it. Such a great thing to do with multiple kids. Second resource I want to offer up to you is called Story of the World. And it's Susan Wise Bauer. I should have brought it down. It is a collection. There are 4 volumes, and it's history, but it's all done through storytelling. And there's audio you can get that's read by a master storyteller. And so this history totally comes to life. Your parents will just think that, or your kids will think that they're just listening to a really good storybook when actually they're learning the story of the world. So such a great resource. You can use it in the car. You can, hi Heather. You can just put it on. The kids usually would lie around, just kind of lay around, color as they listen. There's also a coloring book that goes with it if you can get that. Number one tip for teaching history is getting a map or a globe. We got a giant map from IKEA. It was like $99. It's huge. I'll show it to you another time. It's followed us in all of our different houses. And I used to actually take it off the wall and put it down at the kids' level. And as they were listening to history, and it's always talking about different parts of the world and how we're interacting with one another and how, history is made through all parts of the world and our cultural interactions, I would let the kids touch the map, put sticky notes on the map. I even got, I love this, I love little manipulatives, but a little sailboat. And whenever someone would take a voyage back in the exploration, they would sail across the ocean. And my kids, especially my 2 older kids, have fallen in love with history through the Story of the World. And they're actually, my oldest son has gone on, he is a medieval history enthusiast. He hopes to go to Scotland. That was the plan for the fall, to study medieval history. But it all started with this curriculum, Story of the World, which is so good for all ages, from little ones all the way older. I loved it as well. And there are books that go up into the high school years for more advanced learning from Susan Wise Bauer. But so that's a recommendation for that. I had one more thing. Oh, cooking. I talked about it yesterday. There are lots of great websites with math games and things like that you can play with your kids and have them play. I listened to a digital education expert a few nights ago. I was on another Zoom podcast call thingy, and she said not to do more than 30 minutes a day. Your kids just kind of zone out, and they even recommend that, as far as the educators recommend, not more than 30 minutes a day. But she said if you need to do it, once in the morning, once in the afternoon. But a really good way to do math together with the family is cooking. I know it's just a small part of it. It's fractions, but it's fun. We have cooked forever in our family. Hey, Brian. And we even have a tradition in our family that we make cookies every Friday, Cookie Friday. But it all started with getting in the kitchen, getting out the measuring spoons, the measuring cups, and putting together the fractions to create something. I mean, it's chemistry, really. So those are a few different tips to working together with multiple kids, getting them excited about learning in kind of a way that they may not even realize is actually learning. So that's all I have for you. Does anybody have any questions? I love homeschooling, and for me right now, this has been I know it's a really difficult time for all of us as there's so much uncertainty and anxiety. So I've really enjoyed kind of throwing my thoughts into homeschooling. And I think a lot of us right now are trying to reach out and help. And I love watching, I look at this whole situation with some fascination. It's a better way to look at it than with panic and fear. So to look at it for what it is and how fascinating it is, and to watch how we respond as humans is interesting. And I love that so many of us are reaching out in ways that we're just trying to help. We're using our energy to try to be part of the solution and to be, looking for ways that we can lift each other up. Get on the phone and check on people. I made several phone calls today and had really nice conversations with some friends and trying to interject positivity right now. And I find that as I speak positivity, like right now, to just a few of you that are listening, I feel positive. And for me, that's a win. And I'm hoping if we pass that on, that we can have a more positive effect. I know we can't change the circumstance. I'm not that naive, but I feel like if we can interject positivity, that we can make a difference in the outcome of all of this. We can help each other through it. I'm hoping to help through homeschool. And if there's any questions you have, send them my way. Send me a private note. Some of you did. Send me a text. And then I'll try to see if I can help. If you would like this, let me know. I want to be helpful, but if it's not, if it's just more noise, then that's fine. It's a lot of fun, though, to get on here. Heather asked, is History of the World best spot on Amazon? It's actually called Story of the World, and it's Susan Wise Bauer, and I'm confident you can buy it there. The audio discs are a separate purchase, so there's the book and the audio. I recommend them both so the older kids can kind of follow along. There are some sketches in there, but if you also want to get the activity book, it has the coloring pages in there as well, which are fun for kids who like to color and younger kids. Hi, Abby. All right, guys. Thanks for jumping on here. I look forward to hearing how your homeschooling journey is going. Let me know. Comment down here. Tell me how your day has gone and maybe some of your challenges and questions, and I'll happy to help if I can. Take care, everybody. Be positive. Bye.